Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting for Bedford Township for February 2nd, 2021. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, if Pastor Matt Hafer of Bridgepoint Church could open us up in prayer.
Father God, thank you for this opportunity for us to meet together. Father, I pray for wisdom as decisions are made and information is given and received. And Lord, I just pray that we make you the center of all of it, because all of it happens by your hand, Lord. And we thank you so much, and we give you this time in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Okay, up next is approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Support.
Motion and supported by Mr. Gore. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
I'm sorry, my computer's acting up. Who made the motion in the second?
Mr. Steiner made the motion and Mr. Gore seconded.
Thank you. Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Ms. Jandusek?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Bruni?
Yes.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, motion passed 7-0. Up next is the consent agenda. The agenda committee recommends to A, approve and place on file the minutes of the January 16th, 2021 regular meeting of the Bedford Township Board. B, accept with regret the resignation of Dennis Jenkins in the 2021. And C, accept with regret the resignation of Christine Eichler as assessor effective March 17th, 2021.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with an amendment removing C until after discussion, and maybe move that to after 8L. But with 8L on the agenda, I'd like to remove C from the consent agenda.
So you want to put C before L or after L?
I would think after would be appropriate.
Okay.
Discuss all you want. It's not changing my mind. Fired.
Come on, guys. Let's keep it together. Keep it professional. Okay, so I hear a motion with the amended.
Support.
Hey, who made the Craig motion? Mr. Gore supported. Discussion. Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Okay, moving on to public comment. Comments limited to 5 minutes for board agenda items only. Okay, moving on to 6A, approval to appoint 3 probationary firefighters. Chief Massingill, and if a caller calls in, it's because it's behind, so we'll let the caller come in. Go ahead, Chief Massingill.
Yes, this should be pretty short. So we've got 3 of the candidates. I think we started with 17. 3 of them have made it all the way through the process, including the agility test. All 3 of them come in with certifications, so they should make an impact almost immediately in the department. So we brought them forward with a request for approval tonight to bring them on. We're continuing to evaluate the other 14 candidates. I think we've got about 7 positions left that we're continuing evaluating for. We expect to bring some more candidates forward maybe in late March or early April.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or questions for Chief?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the 3 new firefighter EMT Adam Pickard, firefighter EMT Zachary Carter, and firefighter paramedic Kevin Morey as probationary firefighters as presented by the fire chief.
Support.
Okay, motion in support of Ms. Januzak. Discussion?
Mm-mm.
Okay, seeing none. Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, motion passed 7-0. Okay, moving on to public comments. We have a couple callers here, so go ahead and let them. Good evening, Ms. Keene. Go ahead and state your name and address.
Gail Kane, 1056 West Temperance. First off, regarding consent agenda, again, we have a township icon heading out for retirement. Dennis, there's not enough words to say how much the township and the community appreciates what you've done for us. As far as the assessor, best wishes as you set out to find better employment opportunities. In regards to some of the planning issues, there's some concerns with that development. The negative impact that the houses that will actually line the Jackman Road entrance relative to the homes that built there, with the idea that they would have this little expanse to either side, to the south and the north, should be taken into consideration. The access to that should come off of the 2 accesses to Dean Road. Neighborhoods should connect. That makes it for walkability, being nice and friendly and whatever, and for the sidewalks. There's concerns with wetlands, and with the water level table there, trees versus a fence would be far better. I don't know who's going to take care of the fence, because fences come under the ordinance department. So we really should not be putting up fences, but we should be putting up trees. And if we keep packing ourselves in like this, we're going to be heading for zero clearance for any of our housing. To the fact that the majority of this agenda is based on planning, I think we have a big, huge black eye that needs to be taken care of, and that's with 7A. How many times have we heard that no one board member makes a decision? And I know that it's been brought to point in the past that only the supervisor can make the recommendation for this person, and it has to be someone who is an appropriate appointment for the planning. And as you can see, with all this on the agenda, by not making this appointment for what, the fourth time now, the whole township is being held hostage to whatever planning needs to do. This is what he campaigned on, was building Bedford. Just keep building. And yet here we are. He's not capable of making an appropriate selection to our planning department. And this is holding up the whole entire process of planning, BZA, appointments to the BZA, et cetera, et cetera. So all I'm saying, it seems to be time that we need to step up here. We need to take care of this. This has to be taken care of tonight. And if we don't do this, then maybe we shouldn't make a vote on what's on the planning agenda here for tonight. Because if you can't get that board put together, then it's going to hold everything up. So that's all I'm saying. I fail to understand all this. So thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you
Bye.
so much for your comments. Have a good night, Ms. Keen. Okay, next caller. Okay, all right, moving on to 7A, unfinished business, appointment to the Planning Commission. I had on Kim Coons last time, and there was very little discussion other than Mr. Gore saying she be an excellent candidate, which I agree with him wholeheartedly. So I put her back on, for one, to figure out what the board is looking for in a planning commission member. Or maybe you have reconsidered this appointment. So I'm looking forward to the board to appoint Kim Kuhn to the Planning Commission for the first term ending 12/31/23. Ms. Kuhn is a long-term resident of Bedford Township and has a law practice in downtown Temperance. Ms. Kuhn practices family law and is not involved in development or building industry. Ms. Kuhn also brings diversity to the board, and she has not served on any boards for Bedford Township. So that's my motion. And hopefully we can have some discussion this time around. Do I hear support?
I'll support for discussion.
Okay, motion in support of Mr. Montry. Discussion?
I have no opposition to the appointee.
Again, I know Paula, Ms. Kuhn is a viable candidate. I agree that she does bring diversity. But looking over the other applicants, Mr. Cavret, he looks like he was on the planning commission in the past, and it looks like he even chaired the planning commission. He would also be a viable candidate.
I guess with him, the board has said multiple times we need to get some new people involved, and he's obviously served. If we wanted to look at that, we've had plenty of people that have served in the past that we could look at, and go on and on of people that have served and chaired and that we could bring back. So we were looking at bringing some new people in. We've got some good experienced people on there now. I thought Kim Coons would be a great fit. So.
When we talked about new people, we meant people of currently serving to put new people on. I think Tom would be a perfect fit. He has been on it. He has the experience and the knowledge, and he has not been on a board in years. So that's.
Yeah, but
I just feel like he would be a better fit. That's my personal opinion.
So,
Mr. Steiner.
So I'm going to go a little bit with what Mr. Gore was talking about. If we look at not to say that Ms. Kuhn is not an intelligent, experienced person, but again, looking at the application, looking at Mr. Covret, he's got a long background, civil and environmental engineering and consulting. He did serve on planning commission for 8 years. He would not violate the policy of consecutive. It says no more than 2 consecutive terms, but then it also says in our policy that because of that rule, they will be eligible again by waiting 1 term. So since 2008, he has not served. and he's very, very far past that one-term waiting period. As stated, Mr. Covrette did serve on the Planning Commission. He also served as the chairman of the Planning Commission for a number of years. And his background and experience and skills that he's gained with his 30 years in environmental consulting and engineering goes a long way. I served a number of years with Mr. Covrette on planning myself and found him to be a very good and thorough person to be on the Planning Commission. Just because of his knowledge and background, he brings a lot to the table, and he brings conversation out of others just by some of the questions that he can ask and the knowledge that he draws from that.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm also looking to avoid bringing family on too. You know, Trudy's related to him through marriage, and you know, it's something I'm trying to avoid as well. If we can bring people that are new and fresh ideas too, I mean,
I don't think through marriage is really considered family. And if we were going to go there, your brother-in-law is on the BZA. So I don't think that's an issue.
That's why the board did that. We didn't have 75 applications. We had one. So that's why I did that. But
I think
I'm just saying I brought a good applicant, and you know, it's the supervisor's statutory authority to do that for a reason. You know, they don't just do that for no reason. So, okay. Okay. So we have support and Mr. Mantra.
Am I to understand that the other members of this board are using the argumentation for Mr. Covrette? And that's the opposition to Ms. Kuhn, that you prefer Mr. Covrette? Just for clarification.
Looking at the overall experience and background, yes.
Okay.
Anyone else? No, hold on. Anybody else? Is that the reasoning?
I have nothing against Kim. I just think that Tom is a better fit.
I know, I don't know either of them, and looking at the applications, I agree, Tom, with the qualifications. In my opinion, like I said, Tom to me is a better fit as well, because when he knows it, he's been on it, and I know we talk about diversity and you know, stuff like that, but I personally feel that Tom is a better fit.
Mr. Matre?
How many meetings have we discussed this position?
4. This is 4th.
4th. So since beginning of December? Is that correct?
That's correct. 1 in December, 2 in January, and this one.
What date did Mr. Covrette turn in his application?
The day after Kim? Or the day of, I can't remember.
Looks like the day after.
So which was January 12th. So we're saying our reasoning is because we think Mr. Covrette is just this outstanding applicant, but he's only been in the conversation for one meeting's worth of, we're on meeting 4 or 5 of this.
Well, so is Kim, though.
And if we want to think about it this way, and you want to talk about the number of meetings, there were a number of candidates that were available at those prior meetings, and once the first person was turned down, nothing else was forwarded. So obviously it didn't sound like any of those people were what was wanted.
But they're getting turned down with no discussion and for no reasoning behind it.
There's
until
more than enough opportunity.
Until I pressure to get some discussion rolling. So that's fine.
More than enough opportunity to make a case for anyone for 4 or 5 meetings. And all I'm holding you to is your admitted or what you're calling your reasoning, which has been, we want new people, we want new people, we want new people. And in this case, saying that we believe that this is a superior candidate. And
bottom line is we don't have to have people with a ton of experience to get on there. It doesn't take 15 years to learn a position. It takes common sense, and it takes time to go through the packets and look at what you're doing. We don't, and that's my point. We don't have to have people on that have chaired and had 8 years. Yeah. If we had nobody else applying, yeah, sure. Tom would be great. Tom's a great guy, but we have plenty of new people applying that haven't served 8 years on planning. So that was my point. And it's also been pointed out that we do want diversity. There currently is no females on the board. So that's, another good point of it. So either way, could you call a roll, please?
Mr. Peroni,
Aye.
Mr. Montry,
Aye.
Ms. Janusik,
No.
Mr. Bruning,
No.
Mr. Steiner,
Nay.
Mr. Gore,
Yes.
Hirschberger votes no. Okay, the motion failed 4-3. I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Scott Bowen as the intern planning commission member until this board can find somebody that we could put on permanently. Scott's applied for planning. He's a great guy, and I think he'd fill in temporarily until we can find someone, because it is hurting the people that are applying on a regular basis. So we do need to fill it. The caller was right. We do need to fill it. So I'll make a motion. We appoint Scott Bowen as the intern planning commission member. You can have discussion after we get a second.
Okay.
So I made the motion to appoint Scott Bowen as the intern planning commission member temporarily to fulfill the position until we get a permanent member.
I'll support for discussion.
Okay.
Is there
Mr.
conflict?
Montright, discussion?
Is there conflict of interest at all there?
Well, for this meeting, potentially yes, but in the future, no. I mean, you could have conflicts with half the people on there. You just never know what they're going to bring up. Anybody.
Well, I know, Mr. Helm, like even just like the last meeting, I forget what specific agenda item it was, but I know Mr. Helm recused himself
I mean,
from
there's
whatever,
gonna be
but
times-
that's my first apprehension is,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what Todd was going to ask the same thing or.
Well, yeah, you could have something pop up that you recuse yourself for. It's, maybe once a year, possibly, if that. And so, I mean, it's not a reason not to put somebody on. I mean, you're going to have conflict. Same thing with Brad, Joe Garvick. I mean, you have conflict.
Scott's on another board.
I understand that, but we need somebody to fill in until we can get somebody. We just did Dennis Jenkins. So, I mean, there's no reason not to put somebody on internally until we can get somebody. Mr. Steiner?
I have a question. If Mr. Goldsmith could please respond to this. Mr. Goldsmith, I know that according to the Zoning Board of Appeals bylaws, that they can have alternate appointments to Board of Zoning Appeals. Is that part of the bylaws of the Planning Commission?
I don't recall offhand if it is. The state law, and we do have alternates for the Board of Zoning Appeals. I don't recall I don't think we've ever had an alternate for the planning.
It's not. You can't. It's not, Phil.
I have not seen it.
And that's by state statute that the BZA can have an alternate.
Ms. Hirschberger, do you still have something you want to say?
I just wanted to say that there are other candidates we could choose from. It's not like there's no one left.
Yeah, I'll bring a new one back next meeting, but for now, I mean, I think at least we could do is put an intern on until we get somebody permanent. So, we have a motion to support. Any more discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Peroni,
Aye.
Mr. Montry,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Nay.
Mr. Bruning,
No.
Mr. Gore,
No.
Ms. Janusik,
No.
Hirschberger votes no.
Okay, the motion failed 5-2. Okay, moving on to new business, AA, vouchers for payment. Ms. Hirschberger?
I'd like to make a motion that the following vouchers $28,519.24. Fire District, $20,526.73. Police Fund, $645.78. Park Fund, $1,460.22. Fire Equipment, $33,096.91. Library Fund, $4,246.34. Water Revenue Fund, $125. Downtown Development Authority, $4,539.90. Sewer O&M Fund, $3,596.24. Trust and Agency Fund, $276.92. Grand total of $97,033.28.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 8B, proclamation recognizing congenital heart defect awareness week. Ms. Hirschberger?
Actually, Mr. Bruning presented
Mr.
this
Bruning.
to the board.
All right, a little bit about this. Congenital heart disease is the #1 birth defect in the United States, impacting 1 in every 100 live births, or about 40,000 new Americans every year. Congenital heart disease is the leading cause of birth defect-related deaths. Research can provide more identifiable means of the origins and symptoms of congenital heart disease and help save lives. There are several families within the Bedford Township community who are living with congenital heart disease, and as a township, we would like to recognize Congenital Heart Defect Awareness Week for February 7th to the 14th. Therefore, the Bedford Township Board does hereby proclaim February 7th to the 14th, 2021 Congenital Heart Defect Awareness Week and encourage all to join in this special observance.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Mr. Montroy. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bruning?
Yes?
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 7-0. Item 8C, approval of the Monroe County Road Commission contract for Deerfield Woods Road Improvement.
So this contract, we had Deerfield Woods subdivision come in and their association paid for this fix of their roads. But since the Monroe County Road Commission has to go into a contract with the township, they can't do it with individuals or subdivisions. So that is why the contract is coming to us. It is already paid for, so we just need to approve it. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contract with Monroe County Road Commission for Deerfield Woods in the amount of $6,250 as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Ms. Januzak. Discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye. Motion passed 7-0. And to anybody listening out there that does live in a subdivision, the crack seals are huge for maintaining your roads. I highly recommend if you live in a neighborhood that hasn't been touched for 20, 25 years or even 10 years, call the clerk's department to look into moving forward with an SAD, Special Assessment District, to get the crack sealing moving on your neighborhood roads. It'll preserve them for years and years. So, okay, moving on to 8D, appointment of the Planning Commission representative to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. Steiner, would you like to handle it?
I'll take that if you want. So what this is, as the Planning Commission has voted to have Matt Anger recommended to serve as the liaison to the Board of Zoning Appeals. There is a stipulation to be the liaison. You have to be a planning commission member for a minimum of 2 years. And the candidates were limited, and part of that was based on the fact that Joe Garvick had a potential, but he already has he was already voted on his position to be the secretary of planning as an officer of that board, so he was not able to be voted on to go to Board of Zoning Appeals. That pretty much left Joe Garvick, let me get mixed up here, Matt Anger as the person that had to be voted on. He was the only one left to be voted on to go to Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay, look for a motion.
I'll make that as a motion to approve the appointment of Matt Anger to the Board of Zoning Appeals as the Planning Commission liaison.
Support.
Okay, motion support by Mr. Montry. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Prony?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 8E, approval to combine lots 5802-543-028-00 and 5802-543-029-00 and Summerlin Boulevard. This is a situation where the grading doesn't meet for accessibility with a wheelchair. So this is the reasoning for combining the lots so they could get the grade for the proper angles for the accessibility for the wheelchair. So that's why they're looking for this. So anybody have any comments or questions to it? Seeing none, I look for a motion.
I'll make a motion. Make a motion to approve to combine lots 5802-543-028-00 and lot 8-029-00 Summerlin Boulevard as presented.
Second.
A motion supported by Mr. Steiner. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Prony?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 8F, approval to rezone parcel 5802-035-058-08, the northeast corner of Lewis and Smith from C2 Shopping Center Business to C3 Local Commercial. Mr. Steiner.
This came before the January 13th Planning Commission. I was not a member of the Planning Commission due to not being appointed at that point. So I was not able to participate in that meeting, but I do have the general information. So what I wanted to mention is the rezoning and some of the comments are provided. A C3's rezoning is generally consistent with the township master plan and policies. With frontage on two busy roadways and high traffic location, the car-dependent uses allowed in C3 zoning classification would be appropriate for the property. It's supported by adequate utility infrastructure. The other three intersection corners are now zoned C3 at this location. And the uses that may be more objectionable at this location are allowed by special approval only. The Township Planning Commission has recommended to approve as follows. For a rezoning request of parcel number 5802-035-058-08 from C2 Shopping Center to C3 General Commercial located on the east side of Lewis Avenue, north of Smith Road, Temperance, Michigan, as it will bring conformity to the four corners and the following reasons follow. The C3 rezoning is generally consistent with the township master plan goals and policies. Frontage on two busy roadways at the high traffic location and car dependent uses allowed in the C3 zoning classification. Supported by adequate infrastructure. There was a few additional comments that were made. The Maddock and Smith review, the feel of the township, the three matching corners, meets the specs of the master plan. Specific and special approvals we need to go to the township board for approvals. And with any approvals, reasonable conditions such as increased landscaping or screening, reduced hours of operation, or similar mitigation measures could be imposed when considering any special approval requests. This passed on a 6-0 vote by the Planning Commission for recommendation.
Yeah, look for a motion.
I'll make a motion. Motion to approve to rezone parcel 5802-035-058-08 northeast corner of Lewis and Smith from C2 shopping center business to C3 local commercial.
Second.
Okay, motion supported by Mr. Steiner. Discussion. I would just like to say, with the rezones that we've made on the other adjacent corners, tons of activity is happening. There's a medical center moving in at the northwest corner. There's been a lot of activity at the other two vacant corners that have been rezoned. So things are happening. So, Mr. Montre?
I was just second guessing myself. Mr. Steiner, is there any reason or to amend the motion to include any recommendations or anything like that? I don't know if that's appropriate or necessary, but I know that that's sometimes included to have some of that stuff included in a motion.
Hey,
Right.
George, admit the caller in, please, in case he wants to add anything. I don't think he needs to, but if he wants to say something, at least has the opportunity, please.
And those are the recommendations, like you said, that there came out of Maddock and Smith Group and all the permitting agencies.
Is that something worth adding to the motion, or is that just
If you want to make that a friendly, yes, we will.
okay? I don't know. I know that that's sometimes. Phil, do you have something to add to that, or are you thinking anything with that?
We can't this is not a conditional rezoning, so the rezoning can't be conditioned. If you're going to rezone from C2 to C3, any and all uses that are allowed in the C3 zoning district, either that are principal permitted uses or special land uses, would be permitted there. So we can't condition it if that's what's being suggested. But I think the recommendations that were made a part of Rick's motion by the Planning Commission and the reasons for those recommendations, those are appropriate.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Just throw that in as a friendly amendment to add the recommendations, please.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Does the caller have anything?
My name is Attorney Garrett Keaton. I'm just calling in on behalf of the applicant. I think that Mr. Steiner did a great job. I was present for the Plan Commission meeting, and I think, he captured the summary very well. So I don't really have anything to add. I think that the benefits that, were named were evident in the Plan Commission report. I thought Maddock and Smith did a great job with that. I'm happy to field any questions, but not really too much to add unless there's anything specific that you have interest in.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any more comments or discussions? If not, I would call the roll, please.
Mr. Cronin?
Was that? Oh, I can't see your hand because
That's fine.
Go ahead.
So what's going in at the corner? They're rezoning it for a reason. So something's going in there. What's going in there?
There's no plan to put anything in yet. It was bought as an investment property, and so the current owner is just trying to get this rezoning to have to make it more marketable as an investment.
Again, What's being talked about going in there?
Well, I don't have anything uniform. It was just purchased through a 1031. And so it's just, this is, reason for this is just to broaden it to its, full potential to add value.
Okay, and I understand it gives you more options, but what are some of the things commercial that can go in there?
Hey, Joe, just keep in mind how restricted they are, being that are within 500 feet of the school and the church. So they're very restricted of what can actually go in there, but C3 is, the most you could put anything, you know what I mean? But you do get restricted being that you're next to the school and the church, and they are within that distance.
And the one thing is we cannot condition anything based on what somebody may or speculate what they're going to build there.
Okay.
I just don't buy it. They're wanting to rezone for a reason, so there's talk somewhere about something. So
Well, and I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is, and I'm trying to remember right now, Joe. Like when that bank got rezoned C3 over 2 years ago, I think now, and I think it's just one of those things that they're trying to make they're broadening their opportunities to be able to sell that property. It just allows them to market it better. I don't know. Is there probably something in the ideas? I would be surprised if there's not in these kind of situations, but it's like that's what Phil was pointing out is we're not allowed to make conditions whether
right. I understand that.
the other on that. But I know what you're saying, but I just wanted to like kind of point out the bank. The bank did the same thing 2 years ago. I'm sure the guy who was getting that rezoned had some ideas, and that's still there. Go ahead.
At the end of the day, though, somebody could put something up there that they tell us they're going to put up there. Next year, tear it down and put, something different. So, I mean, if it's zone C3, they can, put whatever you want. I mean, so. Okay, any more comments or questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Montroy,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
No.
Ms. Janusik,
Aye.
Mr. Bruning,
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye, Mr. Peroni.
Aye, and the motion passed 6-1. Okay, moving on to 8G, approval for a second 12-month extension for a reapproval of preliminary concept for North River Villas.
So items 8G through 8J, there was a lot involved in all four of these items. So I'm going to try to be as concise as I possibly can. 8G, there is a request for a second 12-month extension for reapproval of a preliminary concept for Northwood River Villas, previously Brookwood Villas North. The public hearing for preliminary concept approval for the request was held where the Planning Commission recommended approval on 9/26/2018, and the preliminary concept PUD plan was approved by the Township Board on 10/16/2018. Due to the time frame to avoid a lapse in one-year approval, a reapproval for preliminary concept PUD was granted by the Township Board on 10/1/2019. Per section 400.1703A.6, the Township Board, upon written application by the applicant, may extend the preliminary PUD plan approval for successive 12-month periods, except no more than 2 such 12-month extensions may be granted. Due to the lapse in the time frame dated 10/1/2019 and COVID-19 restrictions, a reapproval of the preliminary conceptual Planning Commission made a recommendation to reapprove the preliminary concept approval for the second 12-month extension on January 13th, 2021. And with that, again, the Planning Commission made a recommendation. It was a 6-0 vote to make the recommendation to reapprove the preliminary concept for the PUD. if there's any discussion, I'll wait. Other than that, I can make a motion.
You're muted.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the 12-month extension reapproval for the preliminary concept for North River Villas, previously Brookwood Villas. And that is parcel numbers 5802-022-065-13, parcel 5802-022-053-00, and parcel 5802-22-05200, located on Jackman Road between Dean and Temperance Roads.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Mr. Montry. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Montry,
Aye.
Ms. Janusik,
Aye.
Mr. Bruning,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Birchberger votes aye, Mr. Peroni.
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 8H, approval to rezone parcel 5802-022-053-00 from R2A single family residential to R3 single family residential. Mr. Steiner?
Mr. Peroni already stated that about this is for rezoning a parcel 5802-022-053-00 from R2A single family to R3 single family residential. This one was pretty straightforward. Also discussed by the Planning Commission. They recommended to approve the request of Oak Creek Holdings for rezoning from R2A single family residential to R3 single family residential for a planned unit development plan for a 136 unit condominium project to include parcel number 5802-022-053, located on Jackman Road between Temperance and Dean Roads, otherwise known as 8514 Jackman Road, Temperance, Michigan. As the proposed development is less dense than previously submitted and approved, it's consistent with the surrounding area and designated to complete the Brookwood and Village at the Oak Creek subdivisions. And again, that was voted for recommendation of the Township Board to approve with a 6-0 vote.
Okay, any comments or questions? I'll look for
Quick
support.
question is,
Well, let me get the support real first. I'm sorry. Is that a motion you made, Mr. Steiner?
I'll make that a motion, yes.
Okay, do we have a support?
I'll support it and then go to
Support by
discussion.
Mr. Montry, discussion, Mr. Gore?
is this the request to, so they can put a drive off of Jackman Road into that planned unit development?
This will create an entrance off of that side of development. And let me grab my other paper here. And there will be a couple, I believe there was a couple of lots along that main road coming in as well.
It seems to me that there's going to be an awful lot of increased traffic on Jackman Road, especially with the church there, the library there, the junior high school there. And now we're putting in an entrance for 136 condos.
Mr. Montry?
I think this specific motion, so this is for a third of the development. The first 2/3 of this development were already switched to the R3 in 2016. So this is just changing the
From R2 to
the
R3.
zoning in the third portion to match the first 2/3 is the only thing that this particular motion is doing.
And I will say, it was mentioned earlier this evening about why can't we connect through Brookwood and use those two entrances? That would not apply because that would be just the single entrance over there. So you'd still have only one roadway to get out of this portion of the subdivision and go through Brookwood. Per the ordinance, you have to have two entrances with 136 lots. So that's why, even though there's two coming out of Brookwood, there's only one roadway that would connect Brookwood and Villa North. So that's why you have to have that second entrance, and that's where it's coming off of Jackman Road.
I think it's a better idea that the traffic is coming off Jackman rather than Dean. You have a turn lane, you have connectability to the library, to the school, to all the parks from all over. I mean, to me, it's
The other thing I was considering in that regard, which I think is a little bit separate from this particular motion, but just to the point, is there's likely less traffic coming out of condos than if those were all like family homes and everything. It's not like Silo Meadows, like that you're gonna have. I'm trying to think of a couple examples of condos in the township that they don't have the as significant traffic coming in and out.
correct.
So that was something that made me feel a little bit better about that entrance to the neighborhood personally.
You primarily have 1 or 2 adults per these homes versus, a family that's, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids or whatever.
Correct.
And I don't know, this isn't like the one over off Douglas across from like White Park. I think that's like there's an age restriction. I don't know if there's any age restrictions on these condos or not.
They just aim towards 55 and older.
They aim that way, but they don't have any deed
restrictions.
Okay.
That state that.
Just seems like there's a lot of these condo communities going up in Bedford, and it seems that's the thing of the wave of the future. It seems like that's all that's being built right now.
Correct, it is. That's demand in Bedford right now. The average age is 60 something, and out of, the 60% or something out of the community. So, I mean, that's what's being built. Down the road, the demographics could change and we could have some empty condos eventually down the road or not. I mean, that could be a change for the younger generation to want to live in condos. So, yeah, you're right. There's a lot being built.
How are those condos taxed? Are they taxed similar to a single family home, or as far as property tax goes?
They'll be taxed like a single family home. It's just that they're deeded as a condominium. I mean, you could build a home, and if your development was called a condo development, you could title or deed your houses as condos. But there's some restrictions there, but they could be deeded that way. So it will be taxed by like a family home as well.
You are correct.
The good thing is like I said, you already have the turn lane on Jackman. So, with traffic going in and out, you're already set up for it. But okay, any more discussion or comments? Being none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
No.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, motion passed 6-1. Okay, item 8I, approval to rezone parcel 5802-022-052-000 and 5802-022-065-13 and 5802-022-053-00 from R3 single family residential to PUD plan unit development. Mr. Steiner?
This one is basically the same parcels we've already talked about. I'll just mention the last part. So the -053, -052, and the -065. What they're doing now is trying to combine these same parcels that are all now zoned R3 to turn that into a PUD zoning. I will say with a PUD zoning, the township and the planning commission have a little bit more control over that type of zoning and restrictions that can be applied. The planning commission, again, it was a 6-0 vote to recommend to approve the request of Oak Creek Holdings for approval rezoning from R3 single family residential to PUD planned unit development plan for a 136 unit condominium project on parcels 5802-022-065-13, 5802-022-053-00, and parcel 5802-022-052-00, located on Jackman Road between Dean and Temperance Roads. And I will make that as my motion to approve.
Support.
Motion on the floor, supported by Mr. Montry. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Montry,
Aye.
Ms. Janusik,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
No.
Mr. Bruning.
Aye.
Mr. Springer votes aye. Mr. Peroni.
Aye, the motion passed 6-1. Okay, item 8J, final PUD approval for North River Villas. Mr. Steiner?
Again, same three parcels we've previously discussed in the previous couple of motions. One of the things with the PUD process and all the approvals when they go to develop these subdivisions, they have to go through a final approval process. So for phase one of this approval, the Planning Commission recommended to approve the request of Oak Creek Holdings LLC for final approval for phase one for North River Villas on parcel numbers 5802-022-065-13, 5802-022-053-00, and 5802-022-052-00, located on Jackman Road between Dean and Temperance Road, conditioned upon approval from Township Board, which is this meeting tonight, for a final PUD. The applicant and Brookwood Village at Oak Creek subdivision submit an amended landscape plan to be approved by the Township Board, and all shall be conditioned upon addressing all issues and concerns prior to any development as stated in the Monroe County Drain Commission, Mannix Smith Group, Monroe County Road Commission, and the Bedford Township Fire Department review letters. In addition, there were some comments between the homeowners and developers at the Planning Commission meeting. Mr. Gene Stock was the person to speak on behalf of the owners of the development on Brook Park, not Brook Park, Brookwood. And they were basically talking about some of the joint location and the screening between the two different developments. Mr. Stock had a very good conversation with Mr. Schmidt, which is the developer. They felt that working together, they would have a resolution for their landscaping, what they're going to do, and they're not going to go with fencing. They're going to work with different types of trees and placement of trees, whether they're straight line or in V clusters, to help give a good buffer and appeal between the two developments, even though that is not a requirement that they have to have it, but it was requested and the developer is willing to do that. He's also willing to, if it works out, to put some mounding between the two to sort of give them a separation and feel between the two different developments. So with that said, I will make that as my recommendation to approve, as we were approved by the Planning Commission. Their vote was also 6-0 again.
Okay, is that a motion?
I said that was my motion.
Okay, that's your motion, okay.
Right.
Supported by Mr. Montry. Discussion?
I just want to add, I was impressed by Mr. Stock's, just everything that he did to make sure that he was following all the protocol to fight for his neighbors as well. And then Jody for putting this packet together, just for these agenda items, very thorough.
I believe it's going to be a fence, 600 feet of fence, though.
That's not what was discussed. They said that they wanted to go with natural.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a berm and trees was because when I was originally going through it, I thought I was going to have to reach out to Gene and just go, whatever happened to that? And then by the time you get to the end, get through all of it, it seems like everything was followed through, and that it was a berm and then trees and all natural separation was how I understood it.
Right. The one thing that the
I'm going to submit the caller.
The one thing that's also not in developer's plan was to put any kind of buffer screening for the eastern portion. And he stated that if it was feasible, he would also work with them to put some kind of buffer toward the eastern portion of that development as well. Also not in developer's plan.
Hello, is this the caller that's with the development?
Yes, I am.
Okay, could you go over the fence discussion? Because what my understanding was is there was going to be fence.
Yes, that's correct. Originally, what they had wanted was pine trees and natural screening. And then, let me turn this down a little. And then after meeting with them, they decided that they wanted a fence. So that was the final decision, is that they wanted a shadow box fence, and that's what we decided on. Pine trees and natural screening. And then, let me turn this down a little. And then after meeting with them, they decided that they want the fence.
So
You're right.
so
Yeah.
Mr. Schmidt,
Are they putting those like flat? Are they putting the bases on the fence then? Like to
I'm
protect?
sorry, I didn't hear you well.
Go ahead, Mr. Steiner. I want to find where I'm looking
So
for.
Mr. Schmidt, that is all changed since the planning commission meeting. So the question I have is, it's still going to come down to the final planning and zoning of that property with what you're going to put there with any kind of restrictions in the PUD. As for the fence, what kind of material are they talking about? Sounds to me like wood when you're talking shadow box, and who's responsible to maintain that? The newer development or the old development, or a combination?
So yes, it is like a cedar-like material on the fence. It's a wood material. It's a shadow box fence. I thought, after I met with Gene Stock, and I've talked to him several times here over the last few weeks, he had pictures and everything that he had submitted. I don't know, apparently they weren't included in your packet, but it is like a shadow box wood type of fence is what they decided on. And, I agreed to that. And then as far as the maintenance goes, the fence will actually be a foot or so over onto the new development's property, and they'll be responsible for maintaining it.
I do remember that. That's my fault.
If you look at the one in blue where it says Northwood Villas and it's like colored blue, that's the final that was submitted, and then the picture of the fence is the next page.
Yeah.
That's the kind of fencing that'll go up. That's what he's speaking about.
Yeah, I saw it, but it still said proposed on there, so I didn't take that as though that was a done deal between them and the agreement with the homeowners.
Yeah, on the drawing where it says North River Villas, that's where she wrote final. It's on the side though. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh yeah. So that's if available, protective sleeves to be installed to protect the supporting posts from weed eater during lawn maintenance. Is that something is that happening, or what's the situation? I felt like that was worded like if available. I didn't know.
So do you want me to comment on that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So what happened is, I used this fence company, Marlowe Hercules, a lot. And on this shadow box fence, I've tried to get sleeves to put on the bottom of those before. And because of the size of their posts, I guess they don't make sleeves that fit that. There's only standard size sleeves, and these posts apparently don't fit on that. And so, I'm going to attempt to see if they can find some, but I don't know for sure if they're going to be able to or not. They weren't in the past.
Okay, cool. That makes more sense.
Well, Mr. Schmidt, I don't want to assume, even though we probably would, these are probably going to be cemented in the posts.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, any more comments or questions?
Yeah, we've used this fence a lot. It looks
for trees.
What's that?
Well,
Mr.
we gave them their option. They originally wanted trees. That's what I originally agreed to at the preliminary meeting. Then they changed their mind and they wanted a fence. So I'm just trying to accommodate them.
Oh yeah, it's theirs. It's theirs, whatever they want. Welcome to the trailer park.
I mean, it's a nice.
Go ahead, Dave. That's just odd. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You wanted to finish what you're saying, Dave?
Oh, no, I was going to say, yeah, I would have done either one. And they originally wanted trees, and that's what I kind of preferred. And then they came back and said that they really preferred the fence. So that's okay with me. I'm paying for it. And they agreed to it. And that was the final decision.
Okay. All right. Any more comments or questions for Mr. Schmidt? Okay. Okay, could you call the roll, please? We have a motion and support, correct?
Correct.
Okay, let's call the roll, please.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
No,
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 6-1. Thank you, Dave. Have a good night. Any more,
Okay,
unless
guys
you have
a good
anything
night,
else
too.
you want to
Bye.
say? Okay.
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, item 8K, approval of the capital improvement plan. Ms. Hirschberger?
So I know a couple of us have, or a few of us have seen this in the past. It was worked on and prior board approved money to go into a capital improvement budget, but we don't have a plan. So this is the one that the CIP group came up with. It was approved by planning. And so now it's to this board for our decision. I will say that if you look on the executive summary, just under overview, where it says to qualify to be considered, have a minimum project cost of $2,500. I would like that to go up to $5,000. In speaking to our auditors, they thought that was a better number than $2,500. So that's what they suggested. So that's what I'm suggesting to this board, to change it to $5,000.
That would make sense. 2,500 could be a repair, simple repair in
Correct.
these days costs. That would make sense. I would agree with that.
And keep in mind, this is a working document too, that we approved today. This is going to go back to planning, and a lot of plans will be put in place. The bottom line is, at the end of the day, we have to plan for the future. We can't have surprises to residents and end up with millages because we didn't plan for a roof. So that's why a couple years ago I pushed to start putting money away, and it started with maintenance. And then this is where we are at today with having to put plans together. And and you have to have this because we own and operate a sewer plant. And
this is also something that years ago Dennis Jenkins tried to get a board to approve, but couldn't get it through. So he's happy to see that a board is finally looking at it and willing to approve it.
Mr. Montroy?
Yeah, I had a handful of things that I didn't really like about wording and different things within this. And I talked to Jody today about it, and she had sent me over the actual law for that outlines this. And one of the things I thought that I wasn't a fan of is the 6-year term, but that concept is built into the legalese of how this is set up through the Michigan Planning Enabling Act. So, but one thing that she did reiterate is this is a working document. It's something that it gives them a baseline to keep working on in the planning department, and like little amendments like what Trudy added, hey, that doesn't make sense. We'd like that to be 5,000. Those kind of things, and are more than acceptable to keep this going as we build this.
Okay.
I'd just like to say that, oh, you're muted. Are you still talking?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'd also like to say that this is something that it's not the planning department, but the planning commission that would do revisions and work on it, just so everyone has the understanding. It's not the planning department, but the commission that would work on it.
Yeah, and that's what I asked Jody was because I wouldn't want to pass this tonight if that weren't the case. There's too many things that I don't like about it in regards to I pushed to get this CIP fund created and try to get the stupid thing going, and it's this doesn't align with anything that I'm thinking, really. Or not anything, I don't want to say that, but just the sense that I feel more comfortable approving this as is, and then we can continue to make amendments and get that worked through the planning commission, and makes me feel a little bit better moving this forward.
Mr. Steiner?
not to open a can of worms, guys, but this is something that, as Trudy said, Dennis Jenkins is happy to see that we're doing something like this. Dennis worked for years trying to push a capital improvement plan. And there's got to be money involved, and it's got to be budgeted to actually get into a good CIP plan. And the part I mentioned about not open a can of worms, that Mr. Covert was serving at the time that Dennis was trying to get that through. And again, he was very instrumental in trying to put things together to move on a capital improvement plan, but Dennis was frustrated that the budgeting was never provided to him. Now that we're starting to provide a budget, we've got to have a process. We've got to get the right people that have the understanding.
That was part of the reason I was going to bring up Mike Keene for Planning Commission next meeting, because he works for Rudolph Libby and has a ton of experience with this. So hopefully we can get him passed, because he would be a huge asset to it as well. So, okay. Anybody else have any comments or questions or any thoughts?
Trudy's hands up.
Ms. Hirschberger?
I just wanted to let the board members know, at least the two new board members, that the board did pass on July 7th of 2020 to establish an improvement revolving fund. So we have budgeted some money, and it will go into that fund for the CIP.
I just want to say I'm proud of the Planning Commission and this board to keep this moving. It's super important. And if any of us are remembered for anything, it'll be 50 years down the road that boards are happy and proud that we put money away. I know Pearl Albert Green was one of the only elected officials to actually prepare and plan for the future with the sewer plant. That's why we had $2 million in the bank for our sewer plant for upgrades. Unfortunately, it wasn't nowhere nearly enough, but I'm excited that we're doing this for the future. So you'll all be dead, but Craig and I will probably see the fruits. Maybe Krista. Of the results down the road. You guys. No, I'm just kidding with you guys.
Well, can I make a motion that we approve the capital improvement plan with the change to the $5,000?
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Ms. Januzak. Discussion. Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Januzak?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 8L, discussion on head assessor position. So you guys got your packet. Kind of told the board that this is something that could happen. Like I said, head assessor positions and level 3 assessors are highly sought after. They're not something that there's an over amount of the position. So, so here we are. She's going to be resigning. I know that the consent agenda item was pushed to after this discussion, but we have some options. Either we put it out there for, put a posting out there to look for a new head assessor, or we look at contracting with a company and we put a RFP together to do that. There's a couple different companies that we can contract with. With contracting, I think you can lose a little bit of the personal ability because you don't actually have people in the office like you'd normally have Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. So that would change, I believe, a little bit. Some of these communities only have, the contractor 1 day a week. So, you get the message with the phone calls and then they call them back. So it does have a system that works, but I don't know a ton about the contracting. So, yes, whatever the direction and pleasure of the board is, Mr. Montry.
Yeah, I wanted to push that acceptance of resignation to after this discussion for the purpose that my apprehensions and my fears in this situation are that we're going to go backwards, back to where we were before, or we're going to spend way more money that we were trying to not spend moving forward. And both directions, I'm fearful of both directions with moving forward with this situation. And I want a commitment from this board before we accept that resignation that we're not going to do either of those. We're not going to go backwards, and we're not going to go spend $100,000 for a person to fill that position. But we're also going to have someone at least as qualified and professional as Christine for less than $62,000.
I could tell you that from 4 years ago, where we're at today with the assessing department is night and day. We have a solid group of people that are professional back there doing an amazing job. And quite frankly, with one less full-time person. So with accepting it, I said my piece last meeting, I don't need to get into it, but I think, what was proposed was reasonable for the position and the work that's being done, especially with one less full-time person. So we could get into something to where, we're spending more money, or quite frankly, we can't find somebody to fulfill it. But that's up to the board. So like right now, they have a great system back there. It works very well. So, Trudy, did you have something? Yeah,
I was just going to say that we did contract at one point and it worked out extremely well. We had someone that the township had hired part-time. So when the contractor wasn't in the office, we did have someone in there, and it was a part-time employer, and it didn't cost as much as someone would think it would cost because you're not paying the benefits.
But why did they leave?
Because they could not have as many townships. They were smaller, so they could only have so many townships. A bigger township wanted them, more money for them, so they had to let go of some of their townships to move on.
The ones that wouldn't pay. And that was us. The ones that wouldn't pay what was needed. And that was us.
Oh, that's not true.
But that's part of the problem why we have a revolving door here.
That's not true, though.
In a lot of positions, we just don't pay. And you have to pay to keep good people, and you have to pay what they're worth. So, Mr. Gore,
I think there's some people out there.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we gotta do. We gotta look. So,
And we're not going to beat a dead horse, but last meeting, 27% pay raise was not reasonable. 5% pay raise was reasonable with possible step increases to get where we needed to be. I'll take on that. And number two, what would that lead assessor's total compensation package be? I know we talked 62,000, but what about retirement and healthcare? What's the total compensation package?
Joe, I don't know.
probably in that 80, 90 range.
It'd be higher than that.
Higher.
Most fringes and benefits, you can say at least 40% or more of your base wages.
Okay, so we're talking probably north of 6 figures total compensation package, potentially.
Could be.
Yes.
Yeah, we're saving money.
Okay. I would like to see
You gotta
both
think
options.
past the gun shop. Somebody serve. This is a professional position. Okay, we're not looking to save a couple bucks here. We're looking to get a great service to our community. We have to think past hey, we're saving $2. We got to think about their actions here. I mean, we've got a professional team back here where you have to be a level 3 assessor to work back there. It's not something, you can just go back there and train somebody. This is the different position. I don't disagree with you, Mr. Gore. If this was a normal non-statutory position to where, you know what I mean, somebody's been here and they need to work their way up, I wouldn't disagree with you. But when somebody knows their worth and they're paying 85 for less parcels, 5,000 less parcels in Frenchtown, okay, and 80,000 in Dundee for one day to contract, I'm just saying, they know that, and you know what I mean. It's you can't just look at we're just giving somebody a pay increase. We kind of you know, when she took the position, it was, hey, we'll look at it again in 6 months, you know, to talk about these things. And, you know, so.
Well, with,
Go ahead,
number
Joe.
one, when the number one person leaving, and it's a great department, they got a great staff, everybody knows what the other person's doing, then what about the number two person in there jumping up? I mean,
That
is
was-
anybody talking?
She was the number
It's
2
not a level
person.
3. You have to be a level 3.
We did that, and she
People
was
that
the
are in
number.
there right now,
We
people
did
that are
that
right
though,
now
Joe.
can't do splits.
We did that though.
They-
That's
they
like
sh-
that's what happened. She
We
was the
did
number
that
2
because we had
person.
a level 3. We don't have a level 3. We had 2 level 3s over there when we laid our other level 3 off. So we were able to put the level 3 over there. Nobody
Okay.
over there is qualified right now to take over the department.
Right now, is
Nobody's
anybody looking?
qualified over there right now to do splits on their own.
I'd like to see both options.
Yes.
Well, we need to move on it quickly though, because 45 days is going to come fast and there's lots of splits coming and she's extremely busy over there and splits are low priority right now. You know, she's got the role that needs to be signed and thankfully she's sticking around for it to sign that role because that's very important, you know, for our AMR and everything going on with that. So we can't dink around with it. We need to put together a committee of dedicated people to put what we're looking for out of somebody or the RFP for if we're going to contract it of what we're expecting out of them and put it out for bid right away. Mr. Steiner?
I think, as Joe started to say, I think we need to go both ways and then do the comparison analysis that we should post the job. And, you know, nothing says we have to hire if we post a job. So we post a job and simultaneously we go for a RFP on a contractor and do an apples to apples comparison and see what's the best direction for us to move.
What's the pleasure of the board? Do we want to put together a committee? How do we, we're going to have to put together a lot of stuff. I mean, with the board meetings 2 weeks in between, it's, you know, it's, Ms. Januzak. Your hand's up, Ms. Januzak. Mr. Steiner?
No.
I didn't mean that.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm fine with moving on, like Mr. Steiner said, let's post a job at the 62K with, and also look at the private sector. For the
Okay, who's gonna do this?
Now, do we know what our threshold is, bringing up benefits? Do we know what our threshold is to, if you go contracting, if you're staying in that same realm?
That could be calculated. Those numbers could be pulled out from the
That's what I'm
budget.
asking. I'm asking if anybody knows them.
Well, I don't think anybody knows it without, you know, grabbing hold of the budget and going through it and looking to see what the exact payments are for each one of those.
Keep in mind too, it was 20% of our healthcare. You know, that's something too. When you're paying somebody $62,000, you know, that's a factor too.
So I have the notice that I used last time. I can put it out again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do
do
we
it.
have an RFP that we can use for the contractor as well?
I do not have an RFP. The last time we hired a contractor, it was the same notice we used and the contractors applied as well.
Okay, I'm sure that one could be put together. You know, I don't know if you.
The notice can say that we're accepting both applications and proposals from companies.
Okay, that's fine.
If the board's okay with that.
That makes sense for the lead time we have.
So I would recommend that we do it right away. And it's, I don't know how you can get it out there statewide because you can't go, you know, it's got to be state, you know, they got to be state certified. So,
We can use MTA.
yep. So,
Do we have commitment that we're going to be spending less money than we're currently looking at?
you can't, I mean, there's no way to know. There's no way to know.
That's why I think it's so
you could
foolish.
get somebody that we could get one application and they say, I'll do it for 85. And at that point, the board's got to make a decision. Okay, we have no assessor. We're accepting, if we accept the resignation, we have one application, and we look at the contract. If the contractor's more money, then, you know, we're in that position. So it's.
But if the contractor's more money, we're not paying benefits. That you have to take into
That's what I was
consideration.
asking. What is that threshold?
We
Is what I was asking.
At the end of the cutoff.
No, you have to know what that is.
Christine Eichler,
To know if that's a.
Christine or whoever, 100,000 for a position, and it's more than that, then we're paying more. So that's what he's talking about. But we have to look at it too. You know, are we going to keep one person? Do we need a field worker still? Do we still need the level 2? I mean, who's going to do splits? Because right now, with all the splits that we have coming in, we're going to need somebody to help out with splits. You know, so they only have 45 days.
I thought we hired somebody to do splits.
We did it one time.
Did it one time, but now we have one less full-time employee. So now
We hired Teresa to do.
Yeah, I thought we hired Teresa to do something.
to help out, to assist. Christine is doing splits, but it's not her full focus right now.
No, I was under the understanding that Teresa came in to do splits.
She can't do them on her own. She assists with them.
Splits by themselves.
She doesn't just do splits. She assists
No,
with
I
them.
was saying before we did. When Joe was here, he did the splits.
Yeah.
part-time.
Yeah, from home. Yeah, so, and that wasn't working out, so we ended up moving to a different angle with that, so. So. Okay.
I don't feel too confident right now.
No, I don't at all. I think the board's making a big mistake, in my opinion, so. But I don't get listened to, so.
And I'm fine with being wrong too. I feel like nobody has a plan and no one is actually thinking about the actual situation.
That should have been done a couple weeks ago when somebody brought a 26% pay raise to us. Okay, if this doesn't work out, what's the plan?
And then was
plan is what we have right here.
The plan is you didn't have a plan.
This board
Exactly.
made the decision not to give the position. It's not her fault that the position is not where it should be. It shouldn't be at 59,000. It should be where 75 to 85 range for the large of a township we are. Okay, we're way grossly underpaid. Do your homework, make some phone calls to the county and other places, and they'll tell you the same thing. We are not going to get somebody to run that department for 62K.
Then
You
why
can
wasn't
try.
that when she was brought on?
Good luck with it, but
When she was brought on, she was the help for someone who was paid less, and you needed her to be in there as well. And then when that person left, she was that person that you spoke to earlier. That was your second person, and she picked up the slack of the lead person in the department and kept running it, only made it run better with that lead person not being there anymore, which is what I was trying to communicate in the last meeting, which is you have to take that into consideration. You're already saving, even with the 25% increase, you were still saving 33 grand a year, I think, I don't remember off the top of my head.
looking back in the situation, we should have probably, instead of just putting her in the position, we probably should have done a study, put it out for bid to the state and did it that way. But, she didn't want to take it for that pay. I asked her to help us out and get in there and get rolling and show what you can do for the next 6-8 months with one less full-time employee, saving a huge chunk of money. And then we'll go back to the board, and she's proven herself. She does a very good job. And now I'm back to the board, and you're looking at it the wrong way. Oh, we're giving that individual a 26% raise. You can't look at it like that. Yeah, she's getting a 26% raise, but the position is underpaid by a lot.
But that person took the position knowing the wages and benefits, and that should have been negotiated back then.
Woulda, coulda,
Right.
shoulda, but here we are, with,
Yes.
an
I
amazing
don't know. I
person
mean,
resigning, and, we're in a position where we're trying to save a couple bucks to go another route. Mr. Montre?
And Joe, I think that's a fair point, and I think it's something that you didn't necessarily foresee the situation, but you're in the situation, and my apprehension, that I tried to communicate at the last meeting, why I'm not for just giving people raises and throwing around taxpayers' money, which is why I wanted to give the raise, because I don't feel confident that we have a better solution. I feel that we're either going to, and they're not going to do a good job, and they're going to,
Phil?
I'm talking, hold on.
Go ahead, sorry.
And you're going to not have a good situation. Okay, you saved a few bucks, but now we do need to hire an extra person to go hold somebody's hand because you hired somebody that you were saving a few bucks. Or we're going to end up spending way more money because we have to do whatever. And, oh, man, we didn't really see that coming, which it happens from time to time. And if we're forced into it, I feel like that's okay. But we're forcing ourselves into something that no one seems to really have a plan for. And I feel like we're screwing ourselves. And I hope I'd hope that I'm wrong. And I'd hope that, hey, maybe it works out, but I just don't feel confident in it at all. I feel like we're being unwise.
I think we're going to be just fine. Christine can find another job. We'll find someone to replace. We're going to be just fine. Let's make a motion on this stuff and move on.
Yeah, but if you're going to spend 90, I don't disagree with that. But if you're going to spend 90,000 to fill that spot, now we're not being wise with taxpayer dollars.
No.
Because I agree, I know what you're saying, and I don't disagree. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but in the landscape of things, that has to be considered. And now we didn't want to give her a raise, and then we're so smart. Now we end up spending an extra 30 grand to fill a spot because we're so smart.
Well, in my opinion, anybody that's going to take this position at that pay, I would question it. I would question that a lot. Because when you look at the average for the size of the township we are, in the county and in the state, we're way under by a lot. So, all right. Any more discussion, Mr. Montre?
I mean, and that's the thing is, if you had a plan and you went, you know what, we actually do have something lined up, and someone who's really good, and they've committed to whatever, and it's going to be under budget, and we're going to get a steal, and it's going to be amazing. I wouldn't have been opposed to that at all. But when we don't have that, I'm not feeling confident that that's what's going to happen. But that's my opinion.
Okay. I don't think we necessarily need a motion to post it. Right, Mr. Goldsmith?
No, if the board collectively wants to post it as the clerk has suggested, we should get that.
Okay, moving on to 8M.
Quick question, Paul. Do we need to make a motion to accept Christine's
Next
resignation?
agenda item.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to 8M. Accept with regret the resignation of Christine Eichler as assessor effective March 17th, 2021. Mr. Montre?
I'll support it if it needs support.
Hold on, I'm giving it to
I'm
Craig.
no. I've said my piece. I'm not.
Okay. All right, I look for a motion to accept the resignation of Christine Eichler effective March 17th, 2021.
I make a motion to accept the resignation of Christine Eichler effective March 17th, 2021.
Okay. And support?
Support.
Okay, support of Mr. Gore. Discussion? I've said it 5 times already, but this last 4 years, a few of my goals were to build these departments up, make them an enjoyable place to be, and that's one of them. And we're doing it on less money, less full-time person, and just going on the record that I think what we're doing here is not wise, so. Okay,
Bring us a reasonable raise with step increases over time to get her to where she needed to be. That I could have swapped.
that's what I did. I brought you a reasonable request at 75 where the position should be. That's under, Joe. Where it should be is about 90 for where we're at with the size of a township we are, with what they're doing. She's working weekends. They bust their hump over here. It's a lot of work. You guys don't even realize what all she has to do. Go sit down with her and figure out what the heck's going on over there. And you'll have a lot better understanding of it. I mean, it's a lot of work, and it's an extremely important, state mandated. Your signature means a lot. I mean, it's a big deal. She's the only one that can sign it.
You shouldn't have a problem finding another job then.
Well, that's not our concern, is her finding another job, Todd. Our concern is taking care of the assessing department and making it to where we serve the public. That's what I'm concerned about. What happens after today isn't my concern. So I did. If I thought I needed to bring you a step process, this is what the position, this is where the position should be. Why it wasn't, if we want to go in closed session, I can tell you why it's where it is. If we want to do that, and we can discuss employees. I don't want to discuss whys and where we're at today about employees. If we're, do we want to go into closed sessions for 5 minutes?
No, motion's on the floor. Let's vote on it.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bruning,
Yes?
Mr. Gore,
Yes.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Ms. Janusik,
Aye.
Mr. Montroy,
Nay.
Hirschberger votes aye, Mr. Peroni.
Aye, the motion passed 6-1. Okay, moving on to comments from the public. Comments limited to 2 minutes. Okay, we'll move on to comments from township board members while we're waiting. Mr. Montroy. Oh, that was fast. Okay, all right, we'll hold off. Good evening. Go ahead and state your name and address.
I'm Dave Kuhn from Feller Fence and Associates, 1683 Woodlands Drive. We did the design for the North River Village.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have a public comment, or did you
No,
want
I'm just here in case you got any questions on anything when you're
You're a
approving
little,
it.
you're a little late to the party. We're all set. You passed, okay?
Oh, did ya? Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Well, thanks.
Have a
See
good
ya.
night.
Bye.
All right. Okay, go ahead and state your name and address, and go ahead with your comment.
Hi, this is Lamar Frederick, 3254 Deer Creek Drive. I've been watching this issue with respect to the assessor. You, as a group, should be doing succession planning anyhow. Now, if the supervisor gets run over by the beer truck on the way to work, or one of the other elected officials, there is a statutory process for replacement. When you have other employees, as a group, you should have alternative programs in succession planning, so that, because if you don't, you're going to be in a position you are right here today. And that is, you don't know what to do next. But I think you're going to take two courses of action at once. But back to the basic issue. I think collectively, after this, all of you put down a succession planning program so that you know what will happen if someone else, A, leaves, B, dies, or 3, just quits. And that's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Good evening. Go ahead and state your name and address. No comment? Okay. Mr. Montroy?
Caller hasn't been accepted in yet.
It's left. It's gone.
Okay. I hope I'm wrong about the assessing position. I feel that this board all wants the same thing, and I think that that's a good thing, that I think we're all trying to achieve the same goal. And like I said, I just hope I'm wrong, that we don't put ourselves in a worse situation than we think we're trying to avoid. That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Gore? You're muted.
You're muted.
I got it, Todd. I
They
got
only
it.
got one time tonight for that.
Yeah. Get
No,
back.
just have a good couple weeks, and thanks for a good meeting.
Okay, Mr. Bruning?
Everybody have a good weekend. Also, Michigan businesses are back open, so go support them. They've been closed long enough. Go and eat some food somewhere. Have a good time, everybody.
Okay, Mr. Steiner?
Just real quick, Todd, thanks for bringing that congenital heart disease to everyone's attention. That was a good thing this evening. I want to reiterate and thank Dennis Jenkins for all the years that he served the township through his role as the planning administrator and then planning commission member. He's done a lot of great things for Bedford Township, and again, he'll be missed greatly throughout the township. Other than that, I'm going to leave it at that for this evening. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Janizek?
Well, I just want to remind residents that the taxes are due February 14th, but since the 14th is a Sunday and that Monday is a holiday, we're giving residents until the 16th to pay your taxes. They will not be considered late as long as they're here on the 16th. That's all I have.
Ms. Hirschberg? Okay, go ahead and patch them through. Go ahead, Ms. Keene, with your name and address.
Hi. I did not hang up. I just wasn't getting answered. So, Gail Kane, 1056 West Temperance. The Lewis and Smith area, Mr. Helm, a developer, recused himself in that planning decision. Number 2, family homes would be better on that Jackman Road stretch. Seniors aren't going to cross that traffic to get to the library. Number 3, I applaud the board for your actions tonight. Number 4, Mr. Goldsmith, since you represent the best interest of all the greater good of the township, I assume you will be filing a complaint with the state for the failure of our supervisor to do his job in a reasonable time in regards to serving our public by assigning somebody in planning. Number 5, the CIP, the supervisors should have signed papers from the department heads in order to present to the planning. That is a concern I have with that. Clarification, we have a Mr. Kuhn who was part of the North River Villas. I'm questioning whether there's any relationship to the Mrs. Kuhn that Mr. Peroni wanted to appoint. And on the end, there is a total misinformation and a misrepresentation of that assessing situation. And it might behoove some of you to go back to 2016 and watch some meetings. I will try to find that meeting. And we used to have an excellent group of people running our assessing department. And I could tell you why they were run out. And the comments about my husband were a blatant lie. And I don't appreciate it. So I will be talking to you guys later. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for your comments. Hey, Ms. Hirschberger?
I have a few things here. I want to also thank Dennis Jenkins for all the time he put on different boards in the planning department and the extra month he stayed to resign again, as his memo stated. I want to tell the residents that the Township Hall will be closed on February 15th, Monday, to observe President's Day. And then I know the board members received it today, our extension for our budget. I just want, or our audit, I mean, our audit is still being worked on. We are presuming it will be done by March 1st. The auditors are telling us they're very close now. They're thinking by the end of February, probably the third week of February, they'll be done with it. We're still supplying them things that they're asking for. It's been a long audit, but it's a new firm. They started from scratch. They needed everything from us. So we're almost there. And then I think that's all.
Okay. Well, it is Black History Month, so I thought I'd read a quote from Thurgood Marshall, the first Black United States Supreme Court Justice. Each of you as an individual must pick your own goals. Listen to others, but do not become a blind follower. Do not wait for others to move out yourself. Where you see wrong or inequality or injustice, speak out, because this is your country. Some things going on through the county, through the college for Black History Month. If you're interested in getting involved or being a part of any of that, February 1st at 5 o'clock, they have a Black History Month profiles, local and national. They have colonialism impact on Africans, racism in youth mental health, creed conversation, and Black History Month Blues series. So there's a lot going on. Contact the college for information on that. One of our residents in downtown Temperance sent a long email to MDOT, to the Road Commission, and to Manick and Smith. And I'll forward it to the board, but it talked about human trafficking at the corner of the Temperance and Lewis intersection, the concern of that. There is not human trafficking going on at the intersection of Temperance and Lewis. We are extremely happy with the TAP grant that we accepted as a board, and that was completed through the contractor and oversaw by Manick and Smith. We have connectivity now to the Ivor Lindsay, the housing development on Lewis Avenue, to where they could actually, we have a resident that is at Ivor Lindsay that can now take her wheelchair to her business that she owns across safely, because we have pedestrian walks. We have roughly 9 to 10 new businesses that have come into the downtown Temperance area. We have Food Town putting a facade up. We have Sunoco that refurbished their building. The old post office has been refurbished. Tons of stuff is happening. And I am a firm believer that a lot of it was sparked by the work that the Lewis Avenue Redevelopment Committee did to get that grant, beautify our downtown area, and get some excitement going with Temperance Street Fest and some of the things that we have going. I'm excited for that group to keep going and do more. There's a lot more to do. Nothing was done down there for 15 years. And finally, we worked hard, and we got grants, and we all worked together as a group of businesses and the government, and finally got some stuff done down there. So I'm excited about it. So that email was refuted to the MDOT, to the state. We are extremely happy with the work that was done. Are extremely happy with it. The ones that can walk safely to get groceries and do it in a safe manner. So. A couple other things. I want to congratulate the new probationary firefighters. Our fire department continues to be just a pillar in our community. I'm not excited about ordinance not handling illegal burns. Our fire department's handling over 3,000 calls a year right now. That's a lot of calls for our fire department. And now we're potentially going to be adding another 500 calls to that department. And they're going to have to hire somebody. And now our chief and our fire inspector are going to have to be dealing with illegal burns when we had it handled here at the ordinance department for $25,000 to keep that going. So I'm disappointed that we won't be continuing that through the ordinance department, but I'm sure it will be handled by chief. Hopefully the level of service stays the same, to where when somebody complains that somebody can get out there and take care of it, which I know the fire department will do. They continue to do an amazing job. I had a great meeting with Lake Erie Transit. I sit on their budgeting committee. It's looking like they're hopefully going to be receiving an extra $80,000 to offset our grant with some relief money. So, and Todd, you're right. We need to visit local restaurants. you know, there's some of them that are extremely close to closing. And when you're only allowed to have 25% of your people come into a business, that's tough. That's very tough. So we need to do what we can, go out to lunch, do the takeout thing, and continue to support them. Other than that, you know, I was on a lot of meetings this month with Ivor Lindsay. I was on their meeting, and they got a lot of good things going. And hopefully, I think this year will be promising to get back to some normalcy and get this virus cleared up, and you know, we can get back to normal. So I continue to pray for that, and I pray for people that are struggling right now with it. And other than that, if nobody has any further comments.
Paul?
Yep.
I just want to say about the burning. Adam did send a note. I'll forward it to the rest of the board that he's going to get someone to handle illegal burns since the ordinance designates the fire chief over burning. So I'll send that out to the board, but he said it's not going to disrupt any of the current runs or anything. He's going to get someone in to take care of those illegal burns. So he's all set with it.
He's looking at Sam, the lady that was just laid off from ordinance. So, but she's not going to work 7 days a week.
No.
So somebody from the fire department's going to have to cover those nights or weekends whenever she's not there during the day, especially during burn season. Yes, in 2019, we put out roughly 330 illegal burns. That doesn't count the calls that we get. That doesn't count when you go to a house and there's no illegal burn. So I'm afraid that it's going to be something that inundates them that they don't need extra stress or pressure in that fire department.
Well, we have ordinance during the day, so she would just be needed at night and weekends. So hopefully something will work out.
Ordinance isn't going to be handling illegal burns during the day. They're not handling illegal burns. Chief is going to be, the fire department will be handling illegal burns.
Okay.
So I've already discussed it with them. So,
okay.
Any more?
I'll send it out to the board so they know.
Yeah, I think he sent that to the whole board.
I'm not sure he's on. Adam, are you still on?
I'm pretty sure that email was sent to the whole board. Okay, with no further comments, unless Chief's going to pop on here. Okay, we stand adjourned.
Have a good night.
Good night.